What's up, YouTube? It's me, the Artisan MC, and today I'm here to give you my reaction and review to X-Men 97, Season 3, Episode 5, Weapon X Lies and DVDs. Well, as I said on my Patreon stream, I would have been more hyped for this episode if so much of it hadn't leaked beforehand. And I'm really seeing that as a problem in modern reviewing or modern enjoyment of material, is that there are way too many people willing to leak stuff before it actually comes out. So it cheapens the experience for the person who wants to watch it fresh. It does. So the cast of characters that were in this, I had already seen. Not because I plan to, just because it's all over YouTube and I spend some of my time on YouTube. The title was already thrown away. The link to the past season was already thrown away. The only thing that was not thrown away that was fun for me in this episode wasn't even the different characters that Morph turns into. It was the fact that this episode gave us one of the characters that I never thought we would see in this at all. Now, the one thing I did know about this, that in the last episode, when Wolverine was talking to Cap and Black Widow and saying that he was kind of getting the band back together, for him looking at a folder that says Weapon X on the front of it, I immediately think Team X. That's him, that's Sabretooth, that's Maverick. That's Team X. That's what I think of. So when this episode started and Maverick is in it and Sabretooth is in it, it's not that much of a surprise to me. Like, yeah, okay, it's Team X. That's what it should be, right? Now, the addition of some characters was kind of fun for me. Lady Deathstrike being there, you already know that if it's dealing with adamantium, Lady Deathstrike and Wolverine have a relationship beyond just their relationship. She's going to show up there. The other addition was Gideon Kane. Now, I hadn't seen Gideon Kane in a while. Just really hadn't. He was always one of those odd characters in the books that was kind of fun because he could detach his fingers and all the rest of this stuff. And he was weapon, what was he, 13 or something like that? I can't remember exactly right now. But having him on the screen for a little bit of time was fun because it's making light of how kind of bogus he was, right? But regardless of that, all these people being together on one ship with Morph there is actually fun because Sabretooth is another one of my favorite X-Men villains. Sabretooth is more complex than people give him credit for, but I like him as being one of Wolverine's arch villains. That if you have to put somebody in a room with Wolverine to really push him and test him, it's going to be one of maybe three people. Sabretooth, Omega Red, and freaking Cyber. These people are going to push him, right? Well, I got Sabretooth in this, and Sabretooth is being a dude. He's being Sabretooth, and it was fun for me to see him on there talking crap and kicking back and stuff like this. Like, okay, now this is kind of fun for me. I'm really enjoying this part of it. It was cool seeing Maverick again. And hearing the leaks, I understood how little people understood what Maverick actually did as a power. But that's fine. It doesn't really matter. He comes and goes, right? Now, on the way to this Weapon X base, where we're getting all this story taking place, the helicopter that they are on is hit by a bunch of murder of birds. Let's put it that way. They're not crows, but they're black ravens, whatever. And they crash. And in the crash, in a very Deadpool 2 X-Force fashion, one of them is killed right off the bat. Gideon Kane is out of there, just like that. I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't think he should be dead like that. I thought he had like a healing factor. I mean, he doesn't have Wolverine's healing factor, but I thought he healed a little bit. Nope. He out of there, done with the episode before he got to do anything. A tree took him out. Like, oh man, that's rough for you. Well, The rest of the characters get together and they are attacked by what looks like a bear or a huge badger or some crap. And while they're being attacked and they're trying to find each other, Sabretooth shows up and promptly shows why Sabretooth is one of the most vicious of Wolverine's enemies, because he kills this creature without a second thought, which is what Sabretooth is known for. No compunctions. Okay, no compunction. Well, this creature is leaking this green ooze and stuff like that, and seems like it's being controlled in some kind of way. But our crew press on into the base. Once in the base, it turns into kind of a horror movie, because there's bodies and stuff all over the place. All kind of scientists just ripped up all over the place. And they all have like 3 strike marks, right? Kind of like Wolverine's claws, which is kind of funny. It's like, okay, what's going on here? They seem to believe Dr. Cornelius is here, so they're looking for him. Well, by the time they get down to the lower levels of this base, they do run into Dr. Cornelius. But he is in a locked room with a bunch of other dead bodies, and he is acting weird. And weirder than a nerd locked in a room with a bunch of dead bodies should be acting. Okay? He's acting pretty weird. Well, in very anime fashion, he starts laughing and giggling and stuff like that and spitting up green stuff. And turns out he morphs into a creature that I had not seen coming in this show, which made the show that much more fun. He turns into a brood. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. This is absolutely fun now. Now, if you don't know, the brood is an alien species, kind of like Alien, the xenomorphs, right? They take over bodies and stuff like that. Wolverine in X-Men comics has tangled with them a few times. The fun thing about the brood is like having hand ninjas or Nazis. It's a crap load of them, and you can take out as many of them as you want to, and nobody cares. And so for this squad of characters there, this squad of mutants, I'm all for that. Like, yes, let's get it. This is where the episode kicked in the high gear for me. I was actually happy with this because it ends up being brood coming out of all kinds of places. And these apex killers are there taking out this brood. And I'm fine with that. Now, what you discover is that in this plant, Cornelius was trying to merge this alien DNA, which is the brood, with human beings or mutants so they can try to get them to go through the adamantium bonding process. And they weren't having much luck. Now, I can tell you this episode was laced with cameos and drops and Easter eggs in it. Like the video that Wolverine and company are watching while Dr. Cornelius is explaining what they were doing with this brood DNA, they got maggot laying on the table. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's messed up because you don't make it. So they are taking out mutants left, right, and center in this, which even though we just saw Magneto go down in the last episode, this does not feel like a way Bo DeMayo would be taking out characters. Really too quick, really with no regard. And really, I don't think it's right. I really have to go back and look because I thought the whole thing with Gideon being part of the Weapon X was that he had a healing factor. That's one of the trademark things of coming out of Weapon X. These characters usually have healing abilities. They do. It's not on the level of Sabretooth, Wolverine, or Deadpool, but they usually have them. That's just like standard. But be that as it may, there are a lot of Easter eggs in this episode. Well, going to the lower levels of this facility, trying to find a way out and looking for more information, it turns out that Deathstrike and Sabretooth and Morph figure out that Wolverine was lying. That something is going on with Maverick and Wolverine. And when they get down there to find out what's going on, Maverick is damaged, his faceplate is broken, and he is terrified. And he's terrified of Wolverine. And sure enough, he gets yeeted up out the darkness and promptly killed by Wolverine turned into a brood. Now, that is the worst thing that could happen to you, because Morph is the one that figures out from them that the brood only want to, merge with the best. And there's only one of them there that is the best at taking stuff out. The best he is at what he does. And what he does is not pretty. The brood took over Wolverine, and Wolverine is in there going after them. Now, what Creed and Deathstrike figure out is that Wolverine had lied, and the reason he lied is that he was not going to the lower levels looking for vehicles or anything like that to get out. No, he went to the lower levels looking for an adamantium bonding chamber. That Wolverine is trying to get his mojo back, in a sense. He's trying to get that adamantium jab again. Now, it so happens, because he is infected with a brood, that the brood cannot survive the adamantium bonding process, as the video from Dr. Cornelius explained to them. Fine. So the plan is to get Wolverine into the adamantium bonding chamber and take him through it again to give him back his adamantium and wipe out the brood DNA that's in him, so we get Wolverine back and not Broodverine. Okay? Well, one of the problems is, down in this lower level in one of these containers is a dude that really does not need to be set free. He kind of has a little top knot, a little long hair, likes wearing red, has coils coming out his arms. Yeah, it's freaking Omega Red. Like the other Wolverine villain that I really like. Like, dang, this is a who's who. I'm getting a smorgasbord today. I'm actually happy. I was like, oh shit, it's Omega Red. Oh, we gotta let him loose. Right? So sure enough, it goes down and Omega Red is loose and Wolverine Broodling is loose. And we get people going at the brood and each other and everything else. I was like, this is fun for me. And it's made more fun by having Morph there. And the way Morph is working in this show is fun because he keeps giving you cameos of characters that you weren't even expecting. Like, at one point I had blinked or something for a minute and it looked like he turned into Puck. And I was like, is that Puck? And then he was the Thing. I was like, okay, yeah, he's Puck, Alpha Flight. Well, later he turned into Guardian. And then he turned into Deadpool. And then he turned into Spider-Man. I'm like, this is the fun of having Morph in there, because you can keep getting cameos for more characters in the Marvel Universe that you don't need to see in their own show to know who they are when they pop up in it. So that makes it kind of fun. Now, they do separate Wolverine and Omega Red, and Omega Red is off dealing with the brood. Wolverine is in the adamantium bonding chamber, and Wolverine and Morph have a bit of a little conversational moment where Morph is disappointed. He's wrestling with the idea that Wolverine lied to him, even though Deathstrike and Sabretooth was saying that you couldn't trust him. And Deathstrike has been messing with him the whole time, calling him Tomo and telling him about the Japanese legend about the Tomo. That it's bothering him, it's in the back of his mind, and when he's dealing with Wolverine, it's really coming up. So much to the point that the Wolverine does stab Morph. He does give him the claws. And the only thing that saves him is his ability to turn into Jean Grey and kind of shake the Wolverine for a hot minute. To which point Deathstrike throws him in the chamber. Sabretooth hits the switch, and the adamantium process has begun on the Wolverine. Now, at this point, um, it's funny to even call them heroes at this point, but our trusty man has to deal with the problem of Omega Red because he is having a field day killing Brood, but he will not be stopped. And they are not the ones to stop him because he starts making light work of Deathstrike and Morph in that situation. You ask where Sabretooth is? Sabretooth is regrowing his skin after he got burnt. So he was burned down to the sinew and the muscle. So he's trying to grow that, but he's a little bit out of commission while it's growing back. Well, the Savior arrives, and I'm not talking about Jesus Christos, okay? There's a slash at the adamantium chamber, and in the form of the X, and out comes Wolverine back and clad in adamantium and ready for the funk. And he and Omega Red get it on for a hot minute. And Wolverine is really showing why he is the best he is at what he does. Because he is really going after Omega Red and making it a good fight. Well, while everyone else is escaping, getting to the hangar, no chopper this time. They crashed the chopper, so now they got to get to what looks like a Quinjet. Wolverine gives Omega Red a throw, lets him fall under a pillar, and he escapes while the base starts to explode. Now, he leaves him there to die, and which you know is not going to happen because it's Omega freaking Red. He's not going anywhere. Wolverine gets to the not Quinjet, and they escape, followed by a bunch of Brood. Now, by the time they get out to the open air, the explosion happens, fire engulfs the Brood and burns them, and I'm like thinking that, how do you know you got all of them? Because those things do not need to be on Earth, period. But they dang sure don't need to be running loose. They need to be accounted for. They don't do that. They just fly off and leave. And this is the point where you really understand that as fun as this episode was, the amount of jokes, I had some good laughs and some thrills in this. You can tell this was not one written by Bo DeMeo because this one goes along really quick. As quick as I'm telling it to you, as quick as it was happening in this episode. This is what shows that it was not written by the same person that wrote the last two episodes, especially since they killed a lot of key characters or characters that could be fun to use later on and used them like it's just a throwaway episode. So it was completely okay to kill Gideon and Maverick, maybe Omega Red. It was totally fine to do that. Or Dr. Cornelius. It was just fine. And it's fine to just have an explosion. Say, yep, and the Brood were burned. And our heroes got away. That's not how you make sure the Brood is dead. Because the Brood, even in the base, talked about the Queen. You never saw a Queen. So where is she? You saw in the video they were digging up something. Was it a Queen or just a random Brood? There should be a Queen. And if you didn't get the Queen, you didn't get all of them. That's a dangling like a loose tooth in the front of your mouth plot thread. That is not Bo DeMeo's writing. And this episode, in fact, was not written by him. So while it was a good episode, it did move along pretty fast. And it did treat a lot of characters like they were just disposable. And like there was maybe a little misunderstanding on who these characters were and what they could or could not do. And I would tell you, at least for Maverick, Wolverine should not have been able to kill him. Because Maverick's mutant ability is precognition. At least a couple seconds. That's why he was on the team with Wolverine, not just because he carried guns. He's hard to hit because he always has that edge. He didn't use it. So these are things that let you know somebody else had the pin while the episode was entertaining, and we got, the smorgasbord of violence and stuff like that, which I enjoyed. It doesn't negate the fact that I understand what it looks like when Bo DeMeo was writing it and when somebody else is writing it. And when somebody else is writing it, they try to give you the bread and circuses. Try to give you enough action where you're not paying attention to the rest of the stuff. Because I can guarantee you this. You won't talk about this episode the same way you will talk about episode 4. You damn sure won't talk about this episode in the same way you'll talk about episode 5. Or excuse me, 3. I mixed up the numbers. But you get the point. The last 2 episodes were a lot better and left you with a lot more, man, I need to know what's going to happen next week, as opposed to this one. It's over and you're just like, okay, well, I'll see you next week. It's nothing dangling. There's nothing that you think is going to go on into the next episode, even with not being sure that all the brood are dead and not seeing the queen killed. Just is what it is. So while it was a fun episode, I can tell by the consistency of the porridge that this one was a little bit not right. It wasn't. I like the cameos. I like the egg drops. Or egg drops. That's what they put it on. I like the Easter eggs. But I'm showing up the next week to see where the story goes after this, because this episode is looking like the X-Force episode. It's really good. It had a lot of action, but it is ultimately just filler to get to the next thing, the next part of the main story. So I'm here for it. So with that, that is it. That is my review of X-Men 97, Season 3, Episode 5, Weapon X Lies and DVDs. Like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. Check the show out, the watch along on Patreon. I do it every week, and the full unedited part of it is up there, so you can see my reactions while I'm watching this stuff. And if you don't, you just wait for it to come out on YouTube. So with that, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.